welcome to another episode of Anfield Watch. Today we're going to be talking about the young midfielders Liverpool could be signing in the summer. Right now, as it has been mentioned quite a lot now, Liverpool are in contract negotiations with Ryan Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister as well. But none of them have signed a contract extension, and all of them currently have their contracts expiring in 2028. So it makes sense for Liverpool to kind of look ahead to the future this summer and try and bring in a young midfielder who could potentially be replacing them in maybe 1 or 2 years' time. And we're going to be looking at those potential players on the Liverpool shortlist. And to do that, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Anfield Watch writer Zak Anderton. Zak, welcome back to the show.
Well, let's get straight on with it. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, the player that gets mentioned the most right now is probably Kees Smit at AZ Alkmaar, another Dutch player. I'm sure Arne Slot's haters will all be getting angry in the comment section right now. We don't need another Dutch player, but Smit is a really exciting midfielder, and he's someone I think who could really suit Liverpool's style of play, despite the fact that he's Dutch.
Well, even though he's Dutch, we could just end up doing another Wolves, like where Wolves basically signed the entire Portuguese national team. So it could. I mean, if the same players are playing the national team and the actual team, they'll get along a bit better, and it might actually bond a bit quicker next season. But Smit, I think the biggest thing about Smit is that literally every big European club in the world wants him. Like Real Madrid and Liverpool are obviously the ones that are after him the most, but the fact that even just that all the other clubs are getting linked with him shows how much of an exciting prospect he actually is. And he might be Dutch again, but so far, I mean, the Dutch players that we've signed haven't actually done that bad for us. Like, you can't say that Van Dijk or Gakpo have been bad, because they haven't. Like, this season, maybe not been at the best, but our history with signing Dutch players is pretty good, so I wouldn't even be mad.
Yeah, and he's only 19 years old, so he's very young. And as we mentioned, the chances are Liverpool are not going to extend all three of McAllister, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai's contracts. One of them has got to go. And I think we're both in agreement that McAllister should be the one who goes. And I think if McAllister was the one that goes, Smit is really almost like the perfect profile to replace McAllister. He does like to operate in that left side of midfield. He's got similar traits and qualities to McAllister. He's not the tallest player, but he works really hard. He's a good passer. He's very intelligent in his passing. So it could almost be like the perfect replacement for McAllister.
I think one of the main things that stands out about Smit is, again, his versatility to play in the midfield. Like, he does play on the left-hand side of the central midfield, but like we've said in the past, like, he's still very a good all-round player. He hasn't just got one thing about him. There is a lot that he brings to the table, and he is still really quite young. So even if there are a couple of bits of his game that are like missing out or that are like he's lacking in, the fact that we'd be able to encourage him to play a bit better, he'd have Szoboszlai, he'd have Gravenberch, who's started a new life basically since joining Liverpool. I think that our track record with like Dutch players and as much as I don't want to get rid of McAllister, I can't see why we'd get rid of Szoboszlai or Gravenberch, because Szoboszlai's been our best player this season by a country mile. Whether it's free kicks or playing at right back, he's just been absolutely impeccable. Gravenberch is still quite young, which seems to be Liverpool's like transfer style at the moment. Like, we're going for younger players that have got lots of potential, and we seem to be planning for our future a lot more. And with the amount of like top level, high level clubs that are going after Smit, I don't think there's really a better young candidate on the market at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's 19, 20, just sort of the amount of experience he already has at that age. He's been playing regularly in the Europa Conference League. He's already come up against Premier League opposition in Crystal Palace, where he did well. I think he ticks a lot of boxes, and I think he could potentially be even in the Netherlands' senior squad for the World Cup. So this might be one that Liverpool want to wrap up before the World Cup, before it starts, because I think if he's on the plane and he gets the opportunity, he could increase his value even more.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of Liverpool's transfer business needs to be done or close to being done before the World Cup, because all sorts of things could happen in the World. Like, the only problem with that is, though, if they do sign a player and then he gets injured for like 6 or 7 months in the World Cup, that's the big risk that you're taking. But it just depends on whether they're weighing up, like, do they want to spend an extra 20 million after like someone such as Smit has played a really good World Cup, or do they want to run the risk of someone getting injured? It's just there's so many like variables in the transfer market these days anyway. Like with Ekitike, for example, we weren't even in the race until Newcastle made a bid. And then we was like, no, you can't have him. And then we just jumped into, like, I think before the transfer window properly opens and before the like World Cup even starts, we need to have a clear plan in place of what we want to do, like we did last summer. Because even though it's taken a while for all the players to get used to the system and get used to playing with alongside one another, I think that next season, once they've sort of gelled together, maybe 1 or 2 new faces have been brought in, I think that Slot will actually get the best out of the players. And I think it's worth the risk of buying, or at least getting to the contract negotiation stages of most of our targets before the summer World Cup kicks off.
Yeah, and another player who's on Liverpool's shortlist is Ayyoub Bouaddi of Lille. Again, he's a very, very young player, only a teenager still, but he comes with a lot of experience already. I think he made his debut not last season, but the season before that, when he was only 16 years old, and he's racked up over 50, 60 appearances for Lille's first team at the moment. So he comes with a wealth of experience. I think he comes with a bit of Champions League experience as well. I think he was involved in the Champions League last season. So again, that's maybe one advantage he has over Smit. And obviously another advantage is the fact that he plays in a top 5 league in France for Lille. And that's probably a higher level than the Eredivisie. Maybe not by much, but probably a higher level as well. So week in, week out, he's being tested against tougher opposition. He's playing against the likes of PSG, the likes of Marseille, and many other top clubs in France's top division. And on top of that, he's... I think what stands out to me about him is significantly taller than Smit. Bouaddi for me is almost like a Gravenberch hybrid, in the sense that he's a left-footed midfielder, so he can play on the left side, but he has very similar qualities to Gravenberch in the way he carries the ball, the amounts he contributes defensively. His reading of the game is really good. He presses, he's a very intense presser, and he's just constantly working and computing when even when he's not in possession. He's scanning, he's looking and reading and trying to anticipate where the ball is going to land. And when he does have the opportunity, he's very front-footed, and he immediately closes down his opposition player and tries to win the ball back. And that's why I think, even if we're looking at the stats, Bouaddi ranks top for successful defensive actions among midfielders in France's top flight. So yeah, he's got everything in the defensive sense of the game, but he's also decent going forward as well.
I think that his composure and maturity is what stands out about him to me, because he is still just a teenager, but because of the wealth of experience he's already had, and he also seems really comfortable on the ball. He basically looks like a player that's been playing Ligue 1 football for years, but he's really only been in the scene for a couple. And I think, especially if Liverpool are wanting someone to eventually replace McAllister, I think getting someone that's already had a wealth of experience in a decent at a decent level is going to be key. Because this season's obviously a write-off for the Premier League. We're not going to win the Premier League, and we've still got a chance at the Champions League. But I think that if we want to try and win both next season, we need to improve our team. As much as Bouaddi could improve the team in the future, I think that it's something his experience is something that could help the team now, rather than him being someone that's just there in the background.
Well, I think whoever Liverpool choose to sign, I think it's going to be a sort of similar situation to Mamadashvili. And, we all know he was brought in to replace Alisson, whether that's this summer or next summer. But Liverpool sort of preemptively brought him in to get him acclimatized to Liverpool, the Premier League, sort of learn from McAllister as well. And I think Alisson as well. But that's why I was getting to the plan, I think, for Liverpool anyway, is they know realistically they're not going to be able to re-sign and retain financially all three of those midfield options. One of them is going to have to go. I don't know if that's going to be this summer. Obviously, it depends on who else Liverpool buy. We sort of discussed in another video how Liverpool probably would like to buy Anderson or Wharton. If that's the case, then McAllister will probably have to leave, in our opinion anyway. It should be McAllister who leaves. Jones's future is up in the air, so as well. So Liverpool need more depth. And even, let's say, if no one leaves, Liverpool still need probably another midfield addition just to create depth, just to be ready for competing in the Champions League and in the Premier League. And these are the kind of players who you have the absolute potential to be starters, but right now you can bring them in. Like you said, Bouaddi, he can contribute now, not necessarily starting every game, but he gives you depth. He can, if McAllister is injured, if Gravenberch is injured, you can sort of put him in at the deep end almost, and it's better than using an academy player who's not had any experience at all. Bouaddi has a lot of experience. He's a quality player, and I think right now Liverpool's midfield probably seems like the healthiest of all the areas in the squad. But still, I think that there is room for depth, and just having that extra body in there would be a massive advantage for Arne Slot.
I think that with any team, and no matter how much depth you've got, there's always ways to improve. And I think the best way for Liverpool to improve their midfield at the moment would be to sign a youngster that can come in, say in like a year or two, and that can be like a first team player in a year or two rather than something right now. Because if we still wanting to stick with our like transfer regime of signing youngsters, but we want them to play now, you'd have to spend 18, 90 million, especially on someone such as Wharton or Anderson. But whereas like someone such as Bouaddi or Smit, they're still going to cost a decent whack of money, but they're not going to cost as much. And it is still a risk, obviously, because they might not fulfill the potential. They might have had a couple of good seasons and they might just fall off. But I think that the best way for Liverpool to prepare and like get their midfield stronger is to prepare for the future by signing someone such as Smit or Bouaddi. Just if with the amount of injuries that Liverpool have had this season, it'd be helpful if the midfielder that they signed could come in and help every now and then. Even just if it's like the odd cup game here and there or 20 minutes like what Engamo is doing at the moment. But I think we just need to figure out what we actually need to do. And as much as our midfield is strong at the moment, there's still ways that we could be better.
Yeah, and I think obviously, as you mentioned, Liverpool needs to figure out what they want to do, and that means figuring out how much finances they actually have to afford all these players. Smit, because you mentioned, there's a lot of clubs interested in him, and Bouaddi as well, I think is, in the upper tier when it comes to midfielders of his age group, his generation. So there's going to be a lot of clubs interested in those two, and they're probably going to cost a lot of money. So maybe Liverpool have to look at alternatives, and that's where Caleb Yirenkyi comes in of Nordsjælland. We understand Nordsjælland want a club record fee for him, but that is not as significant as Bouaddi or a Smit would cost for Liverpool. It's only in excess of 20 million euros, which is around sort of 15, 16 million pounds, give or take. I don't know what the current exchange rate is, but it's around that figure. And if you're looking at a backup midfielder, that is a lot more reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think because the problem is now everybody's trying to find like the next Kylian Mbappe, or they're trying to find the next Jude Bellingham or something like that. Like even Dortmund have signed like Jude Bellingham, like Joe Bellingham, because of the potential that Jude showed at their club. And I think that because of that and because of how much clubs like want to build for the future, I think that so many transfer fees are like boosted, like they're overhyped for a lot of them. And I think like 15, 16 million is still an awful lot for a youngster. But like you said, it's a much less of a risk. And as much as Smit or Bouaddi have both had top regular top flight experience in their countries, I think that Yirenkyi could be quite an interesting transfer. From the few clips I've seen, his intensity is what stands out about him, and he's very competent on the ball. I don't know, it's just a question of what do Liverpool want this summer? Do they want someone to replace an outgoing midfielder, or do they want someone for the future? And Yirenkyi just ticks all Liverpool's boxes. He can play anywhere in the midfield. And that's something that football teams need now. Like, versatility is a huge, huge, huge part of football. And like we've mentioned, injuries are always going to be a thing, especially with Liverpool and the way that our luck has just gone over the last few years. I just think that versatility is one of the biggest things that you need in a footballer, and the fact that Yirenkyi could play anywhere in the midfield is a massive selling point.
Well, not just anywhere in midfield, but he can play as a fullback as well. He's been playing for Ghana's national team as a fullback too. And on top of that, I think when I posted about him on Twitter, Norgeland's team, their official account actually replied under my post and said he can also play as a centre-back too. So I double-checked that, and according to Scout, he has played a couple of games as a centre-back. Those are games I haven't seen yet, but I will definitely look into to see how he fared as a centre-back. I'm pretty sure Norgeland play with 3 at the back, so it's a different sort of system to Liverpool. So it will have been, I'd say, a little bit easier to play as a centre-back in a 3 at the back than in a back 4. But it is something interesting to note with Yirenkyi. And like you mentioned, he's a very intense player. He's comfortable on the ball. The amounts of sort of first touch passes that he does is what's really impressive for me. The way he scans, like he's constantly spinning when he's not on the ball. He's looking around, seeing where his opponents are and where his teammates are. So when he receives the ball, he already knows what he's going to do and where he wants the ball to go. And that speed, the pace that he plays with, that intelligence that he has, I think is really interesting, and it could translate really well in the Premier League. Obviously, he'll have to be scanning even more, and he'll have to be even quicker in the Premier League. The Danish Superliga, though, is quite an intense league already, I will mention. I think it's quite underrated even. All the Scandinavian leagues really are quite underrated, I think, when it comes to sort of suitability for Premier League football, because all those teams play with a high intensity, high press system. We've seen Bodo Glimt, how well they've done. I mean, I know they're a Norwegian side, so it's kind of different league, but we've seen how well they've done in the Champions League. And I think Scandinavian football in general is really underrated, and I think that's why I wouldn't really have any concerns about Yirenkyi coming to Liverpool, to sort of Liverpool and the Premier League, because he's got that ability and because he's been playing in that intense environment. So for me, if we're looking at Smit, we're looking at Bouaddi and Yirenkyi, I think he might be the better value for money right now, given what Liverpool want. I don't think Liverpool would want any of these players to be replacing McAllister and starting straight away. What Liverpool want is a backup who can still play, 40, 50 games if Liverpool go on a big run in the Champions League and the FA Cup and the League Cup. But doesn't necessarily have to start every game, and Yirenkyi can do that. And on top of that, he's got the ability to play and as a right back maybe, and you don't necessarily have to play Dominic Szoboszlai there. You could play Yirenkyi there and keep Szoboszlai in his best position. And I think because of that reason, he would probably be the smarter buy out of the other options.
I think that the price tag is probably one of the main selling points about Yirenkyi, and the fact that Liverpool could craft him into exactly the sort of player that they want him to be. Like, obviously, it'd be a decent whack of money up front, but it's much less of a risk. So, like, say if he doesn't perform well, like he joins Liverpool, signs a 5-year deal, 3 years in, he's not at the level they expected. Liverpool could probably still get 5 or 6 million quid for him. So it's like if they're spending like 15, 16 million, it's like a 10 million loss. But it just depends if they're willing to risk losing that or not getting the player that they expected. But
I mean,
for a team of Liverpool's stature, I don't think 15, 16 million's an awful lot of money now.
yeah.
Like, we signed Chiesa for 10 million quid, I think it was, or something like that, which was a bargain for what sort of player he was. But I think that Yirenkyi's just got something special about him, and I think that 15 or 16 million pound would be worth spending.
Yeah, and I think I kind of disagree with you on the 5-6 million point, because in 2-3 years' time, he'll only be 23 years old. You know, he's 20 now. Given inflation, given how the market works, you know, Liverpool could easily be making their money back, even if, let's say, it doesn't work out completely, just because I think if you're a young player playing for Liverpool, unless he's an utter disaster at Liverpool and, I don't know, gets injured all the time and is completely rubbish, which I don't think he will be, even then, Liverpool could probably make 5 or 6 million off of him. But if he does decent, but never quite breaks into the starting 11, you could still probably sell him on for more, because he's got that Premier League experience. He'll have played in the Champions League, and you could probably still make a profit on him, even if he doesn't sort of fulfill your goal, which is to replace long-term McAllister or you know, get himself into those starting spots at Liverpool. And I think that's what's so enticing for Liverpool. You can't lose with this one. You get him in for 16 million, and there is no risk factor almost.
It's all just if buts and maybes, isn't it? Like, you just never know what's going to happen. But of the 3 players that we've spoken about, Yirenkyi is definitely the best option for Liverpool to go for at the moment, because we don't need, like, as much as like Real Madrid are being linked with McAllister, Szoboszlai being linked with Real Madrid, it just doesn't feel like we're going to move any of those on, like, in the next year. It just depends. I think it all depends on what happens with their contracts, and if if 2 of them say yes and they accept the extensions, then the one that hasn't is going to be moved on, like we said. But I just think that at the moment, Yirenkyi is probably the safest bet, and I can't really see why Liverpool would spend 50 million on Smit, say, when they've got Yirenkyi there, who has the only difference would be the experience in like the more competitive leagues. But then again, when you're signing someone young to craft into a player to replace one of your first teamers, do you really need all that experience straight away? It's just a toss up, really. It just depends what Liverpool want and how badly they want it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, it all depends on what Richard Hughes is thinking. I think if it is about squad building, then Yirenkyi is the perfect profile, because he can play in multiple roles. Whereas with Smit, you're kind of limited to the left side of midfield. With Bouaddi as well, you're kind of limited to the left side of midfield. So for me, I think if we have to come to a conclusion at the end of this video, I'd be going for Yirenkyi. I will say, none of these names kind of roll off the tongue naturally for English speakers. With Smit, I'm almost always tempted to say Smith. And Yirenkyi is kind of a hard one as well. But I'm sure if he does join Liverpool, we'll get used to his name. I'm sure we will.
When Szoboszlai first joined, I could not say his name whatsoever. It was, it'll be something that I'm sure that fans will get used to, especially if they're becoming regular first teamers.
Yeah, but Zach, are you in agreement as well? Do you think Yirenkyi is, in terms of value for money, in terms of what Liverpool need in the squad right now, do you think is probably the best option?
Yeah, from everything that we've said in this podcast, it's clear for us. I mean, there's one option of the 3. Which is Yirenkyi. He's much less of a risk. It fit in Liverpool's system perfectly, and the fact that he can play at fullback as well as in midfield is a massive thing, especially with the amount of injuries we've suffered in defence this season. So yeah, I think Yirenkyi would be the better option of the 3. Thanks,
Zach, for your time. And if people want to find you, if the listeners want to find you, where can they find you as well?
It's just at Zak and Z_Anderton, I think, on Twitter or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but it's something like that.
All right, I'll be including Zach's links for Twitter in the comment section. below, so make sure to check him out. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.